Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendations video. And today we are doing my Mafia recommendations part in the fourth, and I am so excited to talk to you about the Mafia books I've read since the last time I did this. I have read some of my favorite Mafia books ever since then, and I'm very excited to share them with you. But first off, I think that I might be a little underdressed for this trope. So let's see if this works. There, that's much better. Much more fitting for the topic we are going to be discussing today. All right, let's get into some of my recent favorite Mafia books, and let's do this. The first one, which I talked about non-stop after I read it, so I'm sure y'all have heard about it already, but I realized it wasn't in a video yet, and that is Ruthless Creatures by J.T. Gessigner. This book has an alpha hero that just gave me all the fluttery feelings and was absolutely delightful. So this book is about a woman who her fiance disappeared 5 years ago, and it is time to officially declare him dead. And so there are a lot of feelings that are coming up again after dealing with that. She's tried to move on at different points, but she just hasn't been able to do it. And then she meets Cage at a bar one night, and initially they don't have a super great interaction, but he feels inexplicably drawn to her, and they end up having a possible relationship with each other, even though Cage is continually warning her away. Don't mind the planes that just decided to go over right now. So much fun. But she's just drawn to his animalistic nature, and even though she knows there's got to be something shady about this guy, she isn't sure what it is, but she knows that it's nothing good, she just can't help but be drawn to him. So I absolutely love this one. The sex in this is so good. That's something about Mafia that I find is that I like the intense sexual experiences that you can have with someone you know is not completely good. And wow, does this book deliver. The next book in this series comes out in July, I think, and I'm very, very excited because I believe it is about the best friend of the heroine, and I can't wait to read it. Another one by J.T. Gessigner I want to bring up was a bit of an older one, but I hadn't read it yet, and that is Beautifully Cruel. This one is about Liam and Truvy, and she meets him when he comes in to her restaurant. She's a waitress there. He's older than her. He is inexplicably drawn to her, and he obviously is a part of something dark. We're able to tell that, and he asked her to have an affair with him, basically. He says, we're gonna have an affair for a certain amount of time, and then you're never gonna see me again. And she knows that he's bad news, and so she's like, I don't want to have an affair with you if I don't get to know everything about you, and if it's only gonna last for a certain amount of time. And then he's like, just kidding, I'm not asking. We're going to do this. And he takes her. I listened to this one on audio, and it has a great experience. It is like an interspersed one, so that means like there's a male doing all the male voices and a female doing all the female voices, and even when we're in altering POVs, we get to hear that person doing their voice. And I really love when a story is told that way, and this one was quite good, so I really did enjoy that as well. Then there is Captive Beauty, which is also called Killian. It had a name change. There are several different covers and that go with each title of this book, but this is by Natasha Knight, and it is about Scylla, whose brother has gotten into some trouble. As happens, it's always a brother or a dad getting a girl in trouble. Like, that is literally how it goes. And so instead of her brother being killed, she offers herself up to Killian in exchange, and he's like, okay, well, you're gonna come live with me and basically have all the, I'm gonna do whatever I want with you for a certain amount of time. I believe there's a time limit on this one that will like pay off her brother's debt. And so this one is a bit of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which is something that we often see in Mafia. And this was just a really fun time. I haven't read any more in this series, I don't think, but I do have one of them saved. I have another one of the series saved that I might read at another time. So it's currently, I think it's called Killian on Kindle, but it's called Captive Beauty. When you look it up on Goodreads, it'll both take you to the same thing. Then there is Sweet Captivity and My Sweet Captive, and they are the same book from different point of views. And this is about Andres and Samantha. This is by Julia Sykes. And Samantha is an FBI agent who is like a tech, and she's on desk duty, and she's kind of been in love with a fellow FBI agent. And she is kind of like Garcia, if you have seen Criminal Minds. She normally sits behind the desk, but she has been trained to do field work, and she is, you know, learning how to do those things to make herself more appealing to this guy that she's hooked on. She ends up getting captured by this guy named Christian, who is evil and believes that she's a narc. And she's like, I mean, I'm part of the FBI, but it was kind of like a wrong place at the wrong time situation. There was just a lot going on. And so Christian decides to have her kind of like tortured for information. So he gives her to his brother, Andres, who is got a beastly visage going on. He has scars on him that make him very ugly. This duology, well, it's not a duology because it's the same book from different POVs, was amazing. I loved it when I read her POV, and I loved it when I read his POV, and they just kind of blended together in this amazing way. Another thing about Sam is that she knew that the guy she was interested in BDSM. So she is still a virgin, but she has definitely checked out the kink community. And so there are certain things that our hero does to her, not knowing that she knows about them and not knowing that they're actually a huge turn on and not as much of a torture situation as he's thinking he's putting her through. She might be liking it, which I loved the twist of that. And I loved being showed that, like, you can be a kinky virgin. I mean, they exist. Just because we haven't dabbled doesn't mean we don't know what we like, or we're not interested in finding out what we like, right? So this one definitely had, okay, if it wasn't said at the top of this video, all of these have very dark themes, dubious consent, sometimes non-consensual situations. So I feel like that should have been on the outset of the trigger warnings, but just in case. This one definitely has those. But something that I love about Samantha is that the way that she adapts, and the way that when Andres fucks up sometimes, because he creates this dynamic between them, one that she in the beginning is unwilling to have, but comes to rely on when this man is in charge of feeding and bathing and her pleasure and all of those things. He needs to be careful with how he has crafted her psyche, and when he's not careful, there are repercussions that are just terrifying. Like, there were some very powerful scenes in this duology, and I liked seeing it from both her point of view and from his point of view. Were amazing. Then there is Monster in His Eyes by J.M. Darhower. This is a trilogy. This is one that is an older series. I feel like a lot of my viewers actually were the ones recommending this to me. This is an age gap. This is about Ignacio and Carissa, and Carissa is only like 19 years old. She's in college. She might even just be 18. And she gets roofied at a party. And this guy who's there ends up taking her home with him. And not the guy who drugged her. Ignacio ends up taking her home with him and waiting for her to wake up. And so she's so worried all this stuff happened to her. She's like, why did you bring me home? Oh my God. And he's like, well, hold on. Because this man, he's in his 30s. She's 19, 18. And he's like, what was I supposed to do? You didn't have any way of knowing where you're from. The address in your wallet is for where you used to live. You don't have a current ID. I don't know who to call for you. I don't even know you. What was I supposed to do? I didn't want to leave you where you were, and I didn't want to call the cops because you were at a party you shouldn't be at. So he has all these reasons why it was acceptable for him to bring her home with him. And though he doesn't make a move on her while he is there with her at that time, when he brings her home, he asks her on a date. And he's like, you were a very interesting girl. I would like to go on a date with you. But it is very intriguing, shall we say, why this 30-plus-year-old man, who, for all appearances' sake, did a good deed, because he doesn't hurt her, she makes her, she's safe, why is he so interested in this teenager? And what benefit is there to him to be paying attention to her? And those are some very important questions to keep in mind when you're reading Monster in His Eyes, because I did like this book. I read the trilogy very quickly. It was intense. All right, then we got to talk about a series that tore me to pieces. We've also talked about this a lot on the channel, but I need to kind of walk through it with y'all. So it is the Deliver series by Pam Godwin. So I have the first 6 books in these 2 tomes here. This is Deliver, Vanquish, and Disclaim. And this one is Devastate, Take, and Manipulate. And then there is also 3 more, which my brain can't remember right now, but I can't wait for the hardcover of that to come out. These books are absolutely beautiful. Now, this series is about sex slavery. I want to be very clear about that. And it starts in a place that is very different from where it ends. So this series starts with a young virgin Christian boy being kidnapped by a pair of individuals who train sex slaves to be purchased. Okay? They get a list of requirements, they choose their target, they capture that person, put them in an attic, and break them down to build them back up into who they are supposed to be for their new owner. So in this first book, we have Josh, who is said young Christian boy, who gets kidnapped by Liv and Van. And what we quickly learn is that both Liv and Van are also victims in their own way. Van is a bit more sadistic than Liv is anyway, but that does not mean he is without his own baggage and his own reasons for why he's here and what he's doing. So that is the start of this series. And as we walk through each book got darker, each book got more intense. And by the time we reach the 3rd book in this series, Disclaim, we know that there is a group of these slaves. There are 9 of them who were all these slaves. But, and this is a pretty big spoiler for the first book, but I'm trying to explain why I have this in a Mafia book, okay? So that's why, or a Mafia recommendations. These people haven't been being delivered. Liv uses the opportunity where the slave is supposed to be handed over. She uses that as an opportunity to kill the person that would be buying the slave. So it's a bit of a twist, okay? So yes, you still got to read Deliver. You still got to experience it for yourself and understand the layers to this world that Pam Godwin has created, because this series has a secret title and it's called The Freedom Fighters. And we are introduced to mafia bosses and cartel lords and seedy underworlds where our previous slaves are busting down doors and breaking things apart. And one of our heroes in one of the books is actually a cartel boss. And his cartel is one of the most amazing things I've ever read. And it is very prominent for the rest of the series. And so we see our heroes and heroines undercover in different organized crime groups, and I really just wanted a reason to put this in one, and this is my video, and I will recommend what I want. But I highly recommend this series if you know that it will take you to some of the darkest depths of human depravity that I've ever read. I was not prepared for this series. I've wept over this series. I felt sometimes that I needed to scrape my brain out afterwards with this series. But I've never regretted one of the books that I read, because Pam Godwin doesn't take you to those places recklessly. If she asks you to sit in a certain experience with a character, you can bet that it's going to pay off by the end. And to have an author that I trust to do that with, I will walk into any scenario, I will go down any dark alley, any deep hole with this author, because I know that she will bring me out the other side. So I cannot highly recommend this series enough, with the knowledge of what you're getting into if you do it, okay? I will be doing a deep dive into Pam Godwin very soon, where I will go over each book in the series and tell you more details. For sake of brevity and for this video, I'm not going to do that, because not all of them are Mafia, but I just wanted to recommend this as there's organized crime in here, and I think if you like some of these stories I've read, you might be ready to step it up and check this out. All right, then we have Black Hearts by Karina Halle. I read this book for the Kindle Clear Out Readathon because it was the oldest book on my Kindle, which is kind of cool. This is actually only part 1 in a duet though, and I haven't read the second part, but I still wanted to mention it because it's Mafia, and I read it and I liked it, so there we go. This is about Vincente and Violet. And Violet has just grown up in what she believes is a normal neighborhood, a normal family. And Vincente, he is the son of a cartel boss from Mexico. And he's taking kind of a sabbatical. He's decided to go on a maybe a year or so break before he really needs to step up his involvement in everything. Now, there are a few secrets about his father that he knows that he wants to learn a little bit more about. And so he does have a purpose with where he is going. And that purpose brings him to Violet. Now, I won't tell you why or how, but it does take him to a photography class where he is not able to get into, but he ends up meeting Violet, who agrees to give him lessons on the sly, and he'll pay her, and it'll be great because he's really cute. And one thing leads to another, and she is deeply entrenched with this man before she knows it. Then there is Ruthless People by J.J. McAvoy, however this works. This is the first book in a series. This was the Book Refuge buddy read for this month, the month of May. And this book, guys, was even a lot for me. And that's saying something, because we just talked about the darkest series I've ever read. But I'll tell you why. And I'm including it in this still because I did give it 4 stars. I see why people love it. So I still want to recommend it if you want to try something truly dark, okay? And I do still think the Deliver series is darker as for content, but as for the characters and the redeemability of the characters, I struggled a bit with this one, but I still want to share it. So this is an arranged marriage scenario, as you do with Mafia. It's one of my favorite parts of it, by the way. This is about Liam, who is part of the Irish Mafia, and Melody, who has been secretly leading the Italian Mafia because her father has cancer and has been very sick. And she's been the mafiosa for the last few years, and only a few people have known this. So when Liam is first introduced to Melody, he kind of fucks it up because he sees a woman that is like a threat to his authority, and he was thinking that he was going to be the head of both the Italian and the Irish mafia, and he was not prepared for a woman who is even more ruthless than him. Their first meeting ends with him trying to grope her and her shooting him in the thigh. That was their betrothal meeting. And it does take Liam quite a few of these situations before they're like, why are you trying to fight me? We're going to be together forever. Do you want one of us to kill each other, or can we get on the same page? And it takes Liam a while to do that. But once he does, he quickly realizes what an asset and what a turn on and what a lucky son of a bitch he is to have a woman in his life who he can do things side by side with, who's not just waiting at home in the villa for him to come home with blood on his hands. She will be there in the muck and the mire and the evil with him. Now that brings me to the part of this that was a little tough for me. And we're going to talk about another book in just a little bit where the female is still just as ruthless as the man, but it worked better for me. But in this case, honestly, Melody feels sociopathic to me a little bit. She feels feelingless. And there are some scenarios in here where I feel like our characters go too far for me to love them. A lot of my viewers and people who've read this, they loved how far it went, and I'm of course not judging that. And again, I see the appeal. But when I read Mafia, I have this kind of a double standard where they can do all the evil that they want or bad, but there needs to be lines. Women and children, well, women who haven't like done anything wrong, because women should be punished equally to men if they've done the same crime. Talk to the Camorra in Vegas about that. But I don't think children should be involved in things, and I don't think women who haven't done anything should be included in it. In fact, I've read so many books where that's our hero's motivation to get revenge, is that a mafia went too far and involved someone's wife and kids in something, right? We've seen that 100 times. And there is, in the first scene, we see our heroine. She goes a bit too far for me, and I feel like she never comes back from that. There is a war against the police in this series that includes their wives and children in a way that I just was sick about, and I wasn't on our people's side anymore. I honestly reached a point where I kind of wanted them to be taken out. So I just want to be honest, but I want to include it because of the things that I'm saying are getting you excited. Like sometimes when I hear about BDSM in a book that was too much for other people and I'm excited, I just want to be honest with you that it's amazing. So if you want that, it's amazing. But for me, and there's a trigger warning that I will share in here because it's different than the others. There's loss of a child in here. And when that situation happens, I did not feel bad for a couple. And if this couple has pushed me to the point where my biggest trigger, really my only trigger, didn't make me feel anything, I think that's a little too far. But that's just for me. And I still kind of want to continue the series, but it might be a while because I have other Mafia tracks to walk down than this one. I want to talk about Malice by Coralee June. I just want to mention this one kind of quickly. This is a reverse harem Mafia, but it is 3 brothers and a girl, so there's no sword crossing. Sad. But this is about a girl named Juliet, and she's friends with this girl named Vicky, and Vicky is a Mafia princess. Only Juliet didn't know this until one day that her brother Nicholas, who goes by Malice, shows up and accuses Juliet of being a spy. And Vicky is like, there's no way that she's a spy. She literally knows nothing about this. You've ruined everything. And so Malice takes Juliet back to the compound and decides to test her to see if she's telling the truth, to prove her loyalty to the family that she has known nothing about. And then he's like, well, now you're in my back pocket and you'll do whatever I want. You will help me with whatever I need, and you're basically mine now. So Malice is definitely the top dog in this scenario, but he doesn't mind sharing her. So she does end up having relationships with both Anthony and William, who are other brothers. I gave this book 4 stars. I did enjoy it. it definitely needs a second book. And the author said that she is willing to write another book in this series, and I think it needs it because of how the relationships progress and where they are all at when this ends. There's some sides of the reverse harem that I don't feel confident in the relationship, so I kind of want there to be more. But I liked it enough to want more, so there's that. Then there is A Bullet Between Us by K. Dosal. So this book actually isn't out yet. It is coming out on May 24th, I think. So hopefully that will be soon. I'm not sure when this video will go up, but I was reached out to by the author to review this book, and I was so happy because I never get reached out to about Mafia books, and I was like, give me, I want to read it right this second, please. Yes, thank you, ma'am. And I'm so happy I did because I loved this book. First, this cover, absolutely adorable, not adorable, gorgeous. I can't wait to get a copy of it in my hands. I want it so badly. This is about a woman named Davina who witnesses too much and has to go on the run. She ends up in, I think she's in Florida, under the protection of a police chief there. We're not exactly sure how she got sent to him. That's something you'll find out in the story, why she's with him. And she gets assigned a protection detail in a safe house. And one of these men who's assigned to protect her, his name is Elias. Now, Elias has ties to the Cosa Nostros, I think. Las Cosa, I don't know. I'm not part of a gang, so I don't know or what it is in the area, because the leader of that, his name is Luca, he has strategically placed some of his brothers in places of power or influence or undercover so that if he needs them, he has them there. And so Elias is one of these men. He, for the most part, keeps away from his brothers, so he lives kind of a lonely life because he's put in this place, but he needs to stay away from them so that there isn't any connection drawn. He feels so bad for Davina as he sees her in the situation that she's in, and he sees she's terrified and she's not taking care of herself, and he feels drawn to her. So he decides to step in, and he brings his big, beautiful, gorgeous Doberman to come and stay with her. He trains Dobermans. He has a dog named Boris, who he introduces to Davina and says, he's going to protect you during the day in here while I'm outside protecting you outside. And so I just fucking love that, because I love a hero with a dog, and I love that he sees that she may not be able to trust a man, but she could trust a dog, and it's absolutely beautiful. And just as their relationship is starting to expand and get steamy, this book had great steam, by the way, fantastic. We learn a bit more about his connections with organized crime and how she might be connected to all of it. So I really enjoyed this. Again, this book isn't even out yet. Please go and pre-order it. Check it out if you're interested. I really want to support this author so that she writes more. The second book is supposed to be called The War Between Us, or Around Us, The War Around Us, and it's going to be about Luca, the boss. So please read this book so that the author writes me more. Okay, so I saved my favorite for last, although I love a lot of these, but I want to go through pretty much all of these books by this author, the ones that I've read, so I wanted to start with everybody else. So we're gonna go through The Brutal Birthright and The Kingmakers by Sophie Lark. I fucking love Sophie Lark. For some reason, if you see this video, I am a slave for you. I love you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're wonderful. So let's go through these. I found this series from TikTok. One of the people I follow in there kept bringing these books up, and I was like, okay, let me try them. So I read, we'll just go through this series. I only own 3 of them. I will get them all, but they're expensive. Okay, I gotta take my time. So first we have Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. This is about Callum Griffin and Ada Gallo, and they are having an arranged marriage. This book, I will say, I consider this kind of a cool, like, intro to Mafia. I mean, it's not because it's like whatever, but the Mafia pieces in this series aren't like as in your face as they are in some other ones. But Callum wants to be a politician, but his family has, you know, ties to organized crime and everything. And when Ada and him have an issue early on, their families decide that they need to merge their families to prevent a war between the two of the families. Because if they don't solve what has escalated, it's going to be bad, and they need to stick together. So these two get married, and they have some of the pettiest fights that I've ever seen, but a lot of times they end in really steamy sex, so I was here for it. And there comes a point where they both start to realize that they're really into this game that they're playing with each other, and that maybe they don't hate the other one as much as they seem. And the team that these two are by the end of this book is so great. Like, it could be tough to get through in the beginning. One of my friends actually DNF'd this book because she's like, I can't stand how annoying they are. And I was like, well, I'm gonna finish it. And I loved it. I loved it. I was cackling with laughter sometimes. And like, Mafia books don't make me laugh all the time. And it's not that it's not serious what's happening. It's just that there's a way that the author writes this book that I just had to keep turning the page. And I wanted them to keep bickering, but I also wanted them to hate fuck. And it was really great. Like, it's so good. And yeah, I loved it so much. Then there is Stolen Heir. This book is about Nessa Griffin, who is Callum's youngest sister. And it is about Mikolaj, who is a Russian who wants to get revenge against the families, the crime families in town. Because now that the Griffins and the Gallows are entwined by marriage, they're kind of this one big thing now. So the thing is that the Griffins, their youngest daughter, she is 19, she's a ballerina, and she is soft and sweet and wonderful. And her family has really let her grow up ignorant of a lot that's going on. Like, her older sister and older brother are involved in the family business, and she's kind of kept away from it, right? Until Mikolaj kidnaps her and brings her to his lair out in the country, and she's just disappeared. Like, there's no ransom note, there's no sign who did it, and it's absolute chaos. And so he kind of does this to like make the world burn. Like, he just wants to watch them destroy themselves from the inside out. Because they didn't prepare Nessa, they didn't have people watching Nessa or keeping her safe. They just took for granted that because she wasn't involved in anything, she would be safe. And Mikolaj is like, this is me. This is my master plan. The thing is, Nessa and Mikolaj are just drawn to each other in a crazy way. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Nessa actually starts to compose a ballet while she's stuck in this house. They definitely are tiptoeing around each other. This is definitely one where they mutually soften to each other. Like, when they both start to get sexually curious about each other, it is some of the most amazing things, because there is no dubious consent in this. If anything, Nessa is the aggressor in some, I wouldn't call her an aggressor, but the instigator in a lot of situations. And once their feelings for each other have progressed to a certain point, there is a decision that Mikolaj makes that put this book in the 6th star status for me. Because I was like, that choice you've made is brilliant. I love this book. The third one is Savage Lover, and this is about Nero, Gallo, and Camille, I think. Camille runs her family mechanic shop, and Nero is just kind of he's a street racer and kind of up to no good. And then they interact at a party where things kind of go wrong for her younger brother, and she ends up getting involved in some things that she shouldn't be involved in. And then her and Nero end up engaging a lot during this, and it was really fun. It wasn't the same kind of emotions that I got out of some of the other in the series, but it's still so unique. And that's something that I'm gonna say about this author again and again, is that no two of her books are the same. And so that means that not everything's gonna hit me the same way. as the ones that are my favorites because she tries new things and she takes risks and she writes herself into situations where you're like, how is this going to work out? But then it does, and it's amazing. So book 4 is called Bloody Heart, and this is about Dante Gallo. Is it Gallo? Yes. Sorry. I'm just like making sure Gallo and Griffin, I mess them up. This is about Dante Gallo and Simone. And now this is a second chance romance. This is a surprise baby. And this is a bloody heart. These two meet each other when Dante is young and fooling around, and he actually steals the limo that she's in. Simone is the daughter of an ambassador, and she happens to still be in the car, and they have this really charming interaction with each other, and then he drops her off somewhere safe and the connection has begun. And they have this short-lived affair where they know that the world will be against them, but they're willing to make a go of it. And then it all falls apart. Simone's family is not accepting of this, and Dante really starts being more involved in some certain aspects of the Mafia that really scare Simone. And so when she discovers that she's pregnant, with the pressure of her family and with the situation that she sees she's looking at with Dante, she leaves him. And they are both in agony for years. And it's hard. It is tough. I will admit that normally those two things, both a time jump and a secret baby, they do not work for me. But I have a rule around here, and that rule is that if a secret baby happens in a Mafia book, I'm usually okay with it. Because if there's ever a situation where a woman should take her baby and run, it is if she gets pregnant by a mafioso. The thing being, Dante is the best of us. And he just has a bad run of luck at that time in his life, and it causes him to lose Simone. And they both live in agony for a very long time. And the one detractor I say for this book is that the time that we get to see them happy at the end of this book isn't enough for me. Like, I needed more. But I was very happy with this couple. And I know a lot of people wanted the hero of the next book to have been, or this hero to have been with the heroine from the next book, but I'm actually okay with that, because book 5 in the series is Broken Vow, and this is about Rylan, who is a military buddy of Dante's, and he gets called in to help protect Riona Griffin, who is Callum and Nessa's sister, and she's a lawyer. She is a boss babe. She helps run a lot of things with the family and with the company, and she's amazing. But someone's trying to kill her. And Dante happens to be on his honeymoon with Simone, and also he's trying to get out of the business because his wife doesn't want him in it. And so he calls in a favor. And we have Rylan, who is a cowboy and a soldier, and he's fucking amazing. And when the heat really gets turned up on them, he decides to take Riona, sorry, I was thinking about Simone there, to take Riona home to the ranch in Tennessee to keep her safe there. And oh boy, did I not know that I needed a Mafia princess and a cowboy together until I read this book. And it's amazing. This was another like 6-star read for me. I loved these two together so much. It was a grumpy sunshine trope where she's grumpy and he's sunshine. He is sexy. He is a dirty talker, and they are just so beautiful together. And I love watching Riona slowly defrost for him and realize that there is more to life than the one that she's living. I will tell you this because I wasn't warned about it. Our heroine is in a relationship in the beginning of this book. Nothing happens with the hero while she is currently engaged. She's not engaged, when she is currently like dating that person. But just wanted to tell you because I didn't know that when I started, and I was like, ah! But you'll see. That dude's a total weenie, so it's fine. And then the last book in the series is called Heavy Crown. And this is about Sebastian Gallo. and Yelena, who I can't remember her last name. Yelena something. And now Sebastian is someone we've been seeing floating around. He had big plans to be a basketball star, but his future brother-in-law broke his leg at the very beginning of this series, and so he's never been able to quite get back to who he was before. Now, thankfully, Sebastian doesn't hold that against his brother-in-law because they weren't allies at that point when that happened, but it has really kind of left him listless, and his father is kind of looking to him to become the next boss when he goes. Even though he's the youngest brother, Dante is not interested in being a part of the family, and Nero is too much of a wild card to be it, and so it's going to fall to Sebastian. Now, Sebastian interacts Yelena when there is a setup where she gets attacked by someone, and Sebastian tries to step in to help, and she ends up beating the guy up, but his eye is caught, his attention is piqued, but poor Sebastian doesn't know that it's a setup. And though Yelena wants it to be true, her father is using her as a chess piece, and she has no control over it for the most part. And that leads to one of the most tragic scenes in the Sophie Lark series for me, that I of course won't spoil for you, but it changes Sebastian and Yelena in some ways that you just couldn't have been prepared for, but it was epic. So that is the Brutal Birthright series, which leads into the Kingmaker series, which is currently being written right now. The first book is The Heir, and this starts off with the son of Sebastian and Yelena, and his name is Leo. And he is best friends with Anna, who is the daughter of Nessa and Miko. And they were kind of raised as cousins because his dad and her mom are like connected through their families, but they're not cousins by blood at all, but they were kind of raised as cousins and friends. And they're going to what is called the Kingmaker Academy, which is a place where crime lords and mafiosos and cartel bosses alike send their children to learn how to run the family business. It is Hogwarts for the villains. It is a place of Slytherins. It is amazing. They're even broken into like 4 teams, and it's amazing. And yeah, so they're going there together. They're both in the same year, and they've been friends forever. And so this is a friends to lovers situation. It's amazing. Wow. And then the second book in this series, which I read recently, is The Rebel, which just came out. And that is about Miles Griffin. So that's Ada and Callan's son, and about a girl that you haven't met before, and their second year at the school together. And it's a forbidden romance. She is in an engagement to someone else, a motherfucking psychopath, and Miles decides that he wants her and she wants him, but he's like, I want you. I don't want you to belong to this horrible person, so I'm gonna make it happen. So that's all I want to say about the series. This video could be so long, but thank you so much for checking out my Mafia recommendations part 4. Make sure you check out my dark romance playlist, which will have been linked up here somewhere, which has all of my Mafia recommendations as well as all of my other darker romance recommendations here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more recommendations. I do weekly wrap-ups where I talk about these books as I'm reading them. You can check those out. And make sure to check out channel memberships if you would like advanced access to some of the things that I'm doing. Thank you so much for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.